Captain Li Wu-jin stood at attention before the Galactic Council Tribunal. His blue uniform was crisp and clean, but his face showed the weight of another humiliating session. The massive chamber stretched high above him, filled with alien beings who looked down at him like he was an insect. Ambassador Velthon of the Nexari Empire leaned forward from his floating platform. His purple skin gleamed under the artificial lights, and his 4 eyes fixed on the human captain with obvious disgust. The translator collar around his thick neck buzzed as he spoke. "Captain Li Wu-jin of the human vessel Resilience," Velthon said, his voice dripping with contempt. "You stand accused of excessive force against the Carthan raiders near the human colony of New Busan." Li kept his back straight and his voice calm. "Ambassador, we defended innocent civilians from armed attackers. The raiders were destroying homes and killing children." A ripple of what sounded like laughter came from the alien observers in the higher seats. Velthon's mouth twisted into what humans had learned was a Nexari smile. "It was not a pleasant sight. Excessive force, Captain. Your species always claims defense when you show your violent nature. The Carthan were simply conducting their traditional resource gathering." "Traditional resource gathering," Li repeated slowly. "They were burning down schools." Dr. Park So-young sat in the human diplomatic section, her hands clenched so tightly her knuckles were white. She had been Earth's representative to the Galactic Council for 5 years. 5 long years of watching aliens dismiss human suffering as unimportant. Councillor Krieg of the Zephyrian Empire spoke next. His insect-like features clicked and buzzed as the translator worked. "The human colony was built on a disputed world. The Carthan have mining rights in that system." "Mining rights that include attacking civilian settlements?" Park asked, standing up from her seat. The chamber fell silent. Several aliens turned to stare at her with expressions that ranged from surprise to anger. Humans were supposed to listen, not speak during tribunal sessions. "Dr. Park," Velthon said slowly, "you forget your place. Humans are junior members of this council. You speak when permitted." Park felt her face flush red. "Junior members who have been part of galactic civilization for 200 years. Junior members whose colonies are under attack while this council debates semantics." High Magistrate Zulkar of the Vorthon Collective raised one of his 6 arms. The ancient alien commanded respect from all species in the chamber. His voice was deep and final when he spoke. "The tribunal finds Captain Li Wu-jin guilty of excessive force. The human military will pay damages to the Carthan clan and will restrict their response protocols in all future encounters." Li felt something cold settle in his stomach. "High Magistrate, with respect, we lost 43 civilians in that attack. 17 were children under the age of 10. Acceptable losses," Zulkar replied without emotion. "The stability of galactic peace requires measured responses. Humans must learn restraint." The words hit Li like a physical blow. Acceptable losses. 17 dead children were acceptable losses. Velthon activated a holodisplay that showed footage from the attack on New Busan. The images were brutal. Human families running from burning buildings. Parents carrying wounded children. The aftermath of Carthan energy weapons on civilian structures. But instead of horror or sympathy, the alien council members watched with detached interest. Some even seemed bored. Then Councillor Krieg did something that would echo through history. As footage of human children crying over their dead parents played on the screen, the Zephyrian began to laugh. It started as a low buzz, then grew louder. Soon other aliens in the chamber joined in. They were laughing at human suffering. Dr. Park stood frozen as she watched beings from across the galaxy find amusement in the deaths of children. The same children she had met during diplomatic visits. The same families who had welcomed her into their homes. Captain Li's hands shook with rage, but military discipline kept him silent. He had sworn an oath to serve humanity through diplomatic channels, even when those channels led nowhere. On Earth, Admiral Kim Tae-ho watched the tribunal through a quantum communication link. The old soldier had spent his entire career building bridges between humanity and alien civilizations. He had believed in the promise of galactic unity. As he watched aliens laugh at footage of dead human children, something fundamental broke inside him. Kim reached forward and activated his command console. With swift keystrokes, he began composing orders that would change everything. Orders to recall all human diplomatic personnel. Orders to close all human embassies. Orders to withdraw from every treaty and agreement humanity had signed with alien governments. Back in the tribunal chamber, the laughter finally died down. Felthon wiped moisture from his eyes with one of his forearms. "Humans," he said with obvious amusement. "Always so dramatic about a few casualties. Perhaps if your species was stronger, you would not lose so many in such simple conflicts." "Simple conflicts," Park repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yes," Krieg added, still chuckling. "The Carthan barely used any real weapons. If humans cannot defend against such basic attacks, perhaps they should not build colonies in dangerous areas." High Magistrate Zulkar nodded in agreement. "The human petition for increased protection is denied. Captain Li Wu-jin will serve 90 days of suspension without pay. This tribunal is concluded." As the alien council members began to file out of the chamber, still chatting and laughing among themselves, Admiral Kim's message reached Dr. Park's personal communicator. She read it once, then twice, hardly believing the words. "All diplomatic personnel return to Earth immediately. All treaties suspended. All cooperation agreements terminated. Humanity withdraws from galactic civilization effective immediately." Park looked up at Captain Lee, who had received the same message. Their eyes met across the chamber, and she saw her own thoughts reflected in his face. For 200 years, humanity had tried to be good galactic citizens. They had followed alien rules, accepted alien judgments, and endured alien contempt. They had believed that patience and diplomacy would eventually earn them respect. But respect was something that had to be earned, and aliens had made it clear they would never see humans as equals. As Park and Lee walked out of the tribunal chamber for the last time, neither of them looked back. Behind them, aliens continued their casual conversations about human weakness and the amusing nature of human suffering. None of them realized they had just witnessed the end of an era. The age of human patience was over. What came next would teach the galaxy the difference between weakness and restraint. But that lesson would come at a price the aliens never imagined they would have to pay. In the depths of space, human ships began turning away from alien ports. Human colonies went silent to alien communications, and in the industrial centers of human space, shipyards that had built exploration vessels began retooling for a very different kind of construction. The galaxy had pushed humanity too far. Now they would learn what human tolerance had been protecting them from all along. 3 months had passed since humanity withdrew from galactic civilization. Commander Yoon Da-un stood on the observation deck of Trade Station Alpha 7, watching the last human transport ship prepare for departure. The massive station had once buzzed with activity from dozens of species, but now it felt empty and cold. "All human personnel and civilians have been evacuated," reported Lieutenant Kim Jae-won from behind her. "The Altarian station manager is asking when we might return." Yoon turned away from the viewport. "Tell him we won't be returning. Not to this station, not to any alien station." The young lieutenant looked confused. "Commander, surely this is temporary. A negotiation tactic?" "No," Yoon said firmly. "Admiral Kim's orders were clear. Complete withdrawal. Every human asset, every piece of human technology, every human citizen leaves alien space immediately." Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out on hundreds of stations and worlds. Humans packed up decades of careful integration into galactic society and simply left. They took everything with them, not just people, but computers, machines, tools, and knowledge that alien civilizations had grown dependent on. On the trade world of Nexus Prime, alien merchants waited for human cargo ships that would never come. Human traders had carried goods between star systems for generations, their ships fast and reliable. Without them, entire supply chains began to collapse. Chief Engineer Cho Min-ho supervised the greatest industrial mobilization in human history. From his command center on Luna, massive screens showed production facilities across human space working around the clock. Shipyards that had built peaceful exploration vessels now constructed something entirely different. "Report on military construction," Cho ordered. "All civilian shipyards have been converted," his assistant replied. "We're producing warships at a rate of 20 per day across all human systems. The new designs are ready for mass production." Cho nodded grimly. These were not the ships humanity had shown to alien civilizations. For 2 centuries, humans had built vessels according to galactic standards. Slow, predictable craft that followed established design principles. The aliens had seen these ships and judged human technology as basic and limited. They had never seen what humans could really build. The new warships emerging from human factories bore no resemblance to anything in the galactic database. They were sleek black vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. More importantly, they incorporated technologies that humanity had kept hidden for generations. Dr. Lim Hee-jin worked late into the night in her underground facility beneath the mountains of Korea. As head of human military intelligence, she had spent decades collecting information that everyone assumed was for peaceful research. Status report on alien military capabilities, she said to her team of analysts. Complete, replied her deputy. We have detailed maps of every major alien military installation, supply depot, and command center in the galaxy. We know their ship designs, their weapons capabilities, and their tactical doctrines. Lim smiled coldly. What about their weaknesses? Cataloged and analyzed. The Nexari rely too heavily on automated systems. The Zephyrians have poor coordination between their fleet units. The Vorthan Collective moves too slowly to adapt to changing battle conditions. For decades, aliens had dismissed humans as harmless researchers and traders. They had allowed human scientists to study alien technology, human merchants to visit alien worlds, and human diplomats to attend their meetings. They had never considered that humans might be learning things beyond peaceful cooperation. Every act of condescension, every dismissive comment, every casual cruelty had been carefully recorded and analyzed. Human intelligence knew exactly how alien societies functioned, what they feared, and where they were vulnerable. On Earth, Admiral Kim Tae-ho reviewed the withdrawal reports in his command bunker. Every human citizen had been safely evacuated from alien space. Every human facility had been abandoned or destroyed to prevent alien access to human technology. Sir, reported his aide, we're receiving hundreds of communication attempts from alien governments. They're demanding explanations for the withdrawal. Kim didn't look up from his reports. Ignore them. The Galactic Council is threatening sanctions. Sanctions against whom? Kim asked with dark humor. We're no longer part of their civilization. Their laws don't apply to us. The truth was beginning to dawn on alien leaders across the galaxy. Sanctions only worked against species that wanted to participate in galactic trade and diplomacy. Humans had simply opted out of the entire system. More disturbing was the realization of how much the galaxy had depended on human participation. Human ships had carried a third of all interstellar cargo. Human researchers had contributed to most major scientific advances. Human diplomats had negotiated countless treaties and trade agreements. Without humans, the galactic economy began to struggle. Communication between distant systems slowed without human relay stations. Scientific progress stalled without human innovation. Ambassador Velthon of the Nexari Empire called an emergency session of the Galactic Council. The same chamber where they had laughed at human suffering 3 months earlier now felt tense and uncertain. The human withdrawal is causing significant disruption, Velthon admitted reluctantly. Several trade routes have collapsed completely. High Magistrate Zulkar raised one of his 6 arms. Surely the humans will return when they realize they cannot survive without galactic civilization. But privately, alien leaders were beginning to worry. Human colonies had not collapsed or called for help. Instead, they had gone completely silent. No communications, no trade requests, no diplomatic contact at all. Most disturbing were the reports from alien ships that ventured near human space. They found nothing. No patrol ships, no border guards, no signs of activity at all. It was as if humanity had simply vanished from the galaxy. Captain Song Ye-jin commanded the first of the new ghost ships to roll out of human shipyards. The vessel looked like empty space itself. Its hull absorbed all electromagnetic radiation and reflected nothing back to sensors. Engineering report, she ordered. All systems optimal. Captain, came the reply. Quantum phase drive is online. Matter displacement beams are charged. Neural network AI is fully operational. These were technologies that humanity had developed in secret over 2 centuries of watching alien civilizations. Technologies that made human ships faster, smarter, and more dangerous than anything in the galactic database. Take us to the edge of human space, Song ordered. Silent running. Begin long-range reconnaissance of alien military positions. The ghost ship slipped away from its construction dock without leaving any trace on sensors. Like its sister ships launching across human space, it began the patient work of mapping every alien target in the galaxy. On the former human embassy on Nexus Prime, alien janitors found something strange. Every human computer had been wiped clean before evacuation, but someone had left a single message on the main screen. You mistake patience for weakness. You mistake mercy for surrender. You mistake silence for defeat. These errors will be corrected. The message was signed simply, Humanity. Alien intelligence services analyzed the message for hidden meanings or threats, but found nothing. It was just a statement of fact, cold and final. What they didn't understand was that it wasn't a threat, it was a warning. In the depths of human space, Admiral Kim received the final report from Commander Yoon. Every human civilian was safe. Every piece of human technology had been secured. Every strategic position had been identified and targeted. Kim looked out at the stars and thought about the alien tribunal that had laughed at dead human children. They had made their choice when they decided human suffering was amusing. Now humanity would make theirs. The age of silence was ending. What came next would teach the galaxy that some mistakes cannot be undone. The Nexari home system of Velthara Prime had been considered impregnable for over 1,000 years. Massive orbital defense platforms surrounded the planet like a metal shell, each one equipped with enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The Nexari First Fleet, pride of the Empire, patrolled the outer system in perfect formation. Admiral Kethvar stood on the bridge of his flagship, reviewing routine patrol reports. The four-armed Nexari commander had crushed rebellions across 3 sectors and never lost a single battle. His purple skin bore the ritual scars of victory, and his 4 eyes gleamed with confidence. "Sir," reported his sensor officer, "all defense platforms are operating normally. No unusual activity detected." Kethvar nodded approvingly. The humans had been silent for months now, hiding in their little corner of space like frightened children. Soon they would come crawling back, begging to rejoin galactic civilization on whatever terms the Council offered. At exactly 0800 local time, every orbital defense platform around Velthara Prime simply ceased to exist. There was no flash of weapons fire, no explosion, no debris field. One moment the platforms were there, solid and reassuring on all sensors. The next moment they were gone as if they had never been built. What happened? Kethvar roared at his crew. "Where are the platforms?" The sensor officer stared at his displays in shock. "Sir, I don't understand. They're just gone. No energy readings, no wreckage, nothing." Before Kethvar could respond, his communications officer spoke up with fear in his voice. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission on all frequencies." "Put it through," Kethvar ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing a human woman in a black military uniform. Lieutenant Colonel Jang Subin of the Human Defense Corps looked directly into the camera with cold, calm eyes. "This is Lieutenant Colonel Jang Subin, addressing all Nexari forces in the Velthara system. You are now facing the consequences of your actions at the Galactic Council Tribunal. Your laughter at human suffering has been recorded and judged." Kethvar sneered at the screen. "One human threatens the entire Nexari First Fleet? Your arrogance knows no bounds." Jang's expression didn't change. "Admiral Kethvar of the flagship Domination, you have 60 seconds to surrender your fleet before we demonstrate what human engineering can accomplish when we stop holding back." 60 seconds? Kethvar laughed, the same sound he had made while watching footage of dead human children. "I have 300 ships against whatever pathetic force you've managed to assemble. You cannot even show yourselves on our sensors." 50 seconds, Jang replied calmly. Kethvar turned to his tactical officer. "Scan the system. Find these human ships and destroy them. Sir, sensors show no enemy vessels anywhere in the system. Whatever technology they're using, it's beyond our detection capabilities." 30 seconds. Jang continued her countdown. Kethvar felt the first stirring of unease. How were the humans broadcasting if they had no ships in the system? And how had they eliminated the orbital platforms without leaving any trace? 20 seconds. "Sir," the sensor officer called out urgently, "I'm detecting massive energy buildups throughout the system, but I can't locate the sources." 10 seconds, Jang said. "I suggest you give the order to abandon ship now. We will allow your crew to evacuate," Kethvar snarled. "Never. All ships open fire on the source of that transmission." 300 Nexari warships fired at once, their energy beams lancing out toward where the signal seemed to originate. They hit nothing but empty space. "Time's up," Jang said quietly. The Nexari flagship domination, pride of their empire and terror of 3 sectors, split cleanly in half, not destroyed by weapons fire, but severed by some kind of cutting beam that sliced through its armor like paper. Emergency lights flashed as the 2 halves of the ship began to drift apart. Around the system, similar fates befell other Nexari vessels. Some ships found their weapon systems simply gone, cleanly removed from their hulls. Others discovered their engines had been severed from their main structures. A few ships lost their bridges, which disappeared in perfect spherical sections. Impossible. Kethvar breathed as he watched his fleet being systematically dismantled by an enemy he couldn't even see. Captain Song Ye-jin commanded the lead ghost ship from her position in phase space, a dimension parallel to normal reality. Her ship and 19 others like it moved through the battle like wolves among sheep, their quantum phase drives allowing them to exist between dimensions. "Target the command structures first," Song ordered her crew. "Leave the life support systems intact. We want survivors to tell the story." The matter displacement beams were a marvel of human engineering, developed from studying alien teleportation technology for 2 centuries. They could remove any object from normal space and relocate it to another dimension, effectively erasing it from existence. The neural network AI that controlled each ghost ship processed battlefield information thousands of times faster than any organic brain. It predicted enemy movements, identified weaknesses, and coordinated attacks with perfect precision. In 6 hours, the Nexari First Fleet was completely neutralized. Not destroyed, disabled. Every weapon removed, every engine severed, every command center isolated. The crews were left floating in space in emergency pods, rescued by automated human recovery ships. Captain Song materialized her ship back into normal space directly in front of Admiral Kethvar's escape pod. The Nexari commander found himself staring at a vessel unlike anything in galactic databases, a ship that seemed to be made of crystallized darkness itself. "Admiral Kethvar." Song's voice came over the communication channel. "You and your surviving crew will be taken to a safe location and released. You have one message to carry back to the Nexari Empire." Kethvar's pride was broken, but his voice still held defiance. "What message?" "Tell them that this was the minimum response. If any Nexari force attacks human interests again, we will not be so gentle." The human recovery ships collected every Nexari survivor, provided medical care, and delivered them safely to the edge of Nexari space. Not a single alien had been killed, though their pride lay in ruins alongside their fleet. News of the Nexari defeat spread through galactic communication networks like wildfire. The species that had laughed loudest at human suffering had been utterly defeated by an enemy they never saw coming. But the most disturbing aspect for other alien civilizations was not the defeat itself, but how it had been accomplished. Human ships had appeared and disappeared at will. Human weapons had selectively destroyed targets with surgical precision. Human technology had proven to be generations beyond anything in galactic databases. Ambassador Velthon, who had presided over the tribunal that started the war, found himself in an emergency meeting with the Galactic Council. The same chamber where aliens had mocked human losses now buzzed with nervous energy. "The humans have revealed capabilities we never suspected," Velthon admitted, his 4 eyes showing genuine fear for the first time in his long life. "Our intelligence services completely failed to detect their true technological level." High Magistrate Zulkar's ancient voice carried a note of worry. "One battle does not determine the outcome of a war." The Nexari were unprepared and overconfident. But privately, even Zulkar wondered how humanity had hidden such advanced technology for centuries. How many other capabilities were they concealing, and why had they never used such power before? Dr. Park So-young, the former human ambassador, watched news coverage of the battle from her new office on Earth. She had traded diplomacy for military intelligence, and her first report to Admiral Kim was simple and direct. "Sir, galactic response to the Nexari defeat shows significant fear and confusion. Most species are beginning to realize they never understood human capabilities at all." Admiral Kim nodded grimly. "Good. Fear will make them more careful about their next moves. What are your orders for Phase 2? Kim looked out at the stars, thinking about alien laughter at human suffering. "We wait, let them make the next choice." If they choose wisdom, this ends here. If they choose pride, he didn't need to finish the sentence. Both of them knew that the Nexari defeat was just a warning shot. The galaxy was about to learn that human patience had been the only thing standing between them and human wrath, and that patience was gone forever. The emergency session of the Galactic Council lasted for 3 days. Representatives from 47 species gathered in the Great Chamber, their voices raised in arguments that echoed off the curved walls. The defeat of the Nexari First Fleet had shaken the foundations of galactic civilization. High Magistrate Zulkar called for order with all 6 of his ancient arms raised high. The matter is settled. We will assemble the combined fleet. Every species will contribute ships according to the Defense Treaty of Kepler Station. The Vorten Collective had ruled galactic civilization for 8,000 years. They had crushed dozens of rebellions and absorbed countless species into their empire. Zulkar had never faced a military threat he couldn't overwhelm with superior numbers. How many ships? Asked General Techmore of the Crag Dominion, his reptilian features scarred from 100 battles. 10,000 vessels minimum, Zulkar replied. The largest military force in galactic history. No species, regardless of their hidden technologies, can stand against such numbers. Ambassador Velthon shifted uncomfortably in his floating seat. High Magistrate, perhaps we should attempt diplomatic contact first. The humans clearly possess capabilities we underestimated. Diplomacy? Counselor Krieg buzzed angrily. They withdrew from civilization. They attacked a member species without provocation. The humans have declared themselves enemies of galactic order. What the aliens didn't understand was that humanity had been preparing for exactly this. Response: Dr. Lim Hyejin's intelligence networks had predicted the formation of a combined fleet within hours of the Nexari defeat. From her command center on Earth, she watched alien military mobilization through a network of hidden sensors placed throughout the galaxy over 2 centuries. Every alien ship movement, every communication, every strategic decision was monitored and analyzed. Admiral, she reported to Kim Taeho, the combined fleet is assembling at staging area Gamma 7, just outside human space. Current count is 11,200 ships from 38 species. Admiral Kim studied the tactical displays showing the massive alien force. By any conventional measure, it was an unstoppable armada. The aliens had enough firepower to sterilize entire star systems. Where are they planning to strike? Kim asked. Intelligence indicates they're targeting the human frontier system of New Sol. They expect to find our main defensive fleet there and crush it in a single decisive battle. Kim smiled coldly. Then that's exactly what they'll find. The human colony of New Sol had been founded 50 years earlier as a research outpost. It had grown into a thriving system with 3 inhabited worlds and over 10 million human citizens. The aliens saw it as humanity's weakest frontier system, perfect for demonstrating their overwhelming superiority. Admiral Kang Ji-wan received his orders while standing on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, flagship of humanity's Home Guard. Unlike the sleek ghost ships, the Home Guard vessels looked like traditional warships, big, solid, and powerful. Sir, reported his tactical officer, long-range sensors confirm the combined fleet's approach. 11,300 ships now, with more arriving hourly. Kang nodded calmly. And our fleet strength? 300 ships, sir. All Home Guard vessels with full crews. The numbers seemed insane. 300 human ships against over 11,000 alien vessels. Even with superior technology, the odds appeared hopeless. But Kang knew something the aliens didn't. The Home Guard ships were not humanity's real military force. They were theater, a performance designed to teach the galaxy a lesson they would never forget. Admiral, his communications officer announced, "We're receiving a transmission from the combined fleet commander." Put it through. The main screen showed Supreme Marshal Vectan of the Draconian Hegemony, chosen to command the combined fleet because of his reputation for ruthless efficiency. His scaled features showed complete confidence as he spoke. "Human Admiral, I am Supreme Marshal Vectan. You are surrounded by the greatest military force in galactic history. Surrender immediately, and your species will be allowed to survive as a protectorate under Galactic Council authority." Admiral Kang appeared on screen, his gray hair and weathered face showing decades of military experience. "Marshal Vectan, I am Admiral Kang Ji-wan of the Human Defense Corps. I have a counter-proposal." You are in no position to make proposals, Vecton sneered. You have 300 ships against our 11,000. Surrender now and avoid unnecessary bloodshed. My proposal is simple, Kang continued as if the alien hadn't spoken. Turn your fleet around and return to your home systems. Tell your governments that humanity wants to be left alone. This is your final warning. The alien commanders listening to the transmission broke into laughter. The sound was broadcast across every ship in both fleets. Alien species finding amusement in human audacity, just as they had laughed at human suffering months before. Supreme Marshal Vecton composed himself after several moments of laughter. Admiral, you cannot be serious. Are all humans this delusional or just their military leaders? We gave you the same chance we gave the Nexari, Kang replied quietly. You're making the same choice they made. Major Seo Jung-min stood at her battle station aboard the UES Indomitable, watching the massive alien fleet spread across space like a metal storm cloud. Her job was simple: broadcast humanity's final message to both fleets and all monitoring stations throughout the galaxy. All stations. This is Major Seo Jung-min of the Human Defense Corps. What you are about to witness is the consequence of mistaking human mercy for human weakness. You had your chance for peace. The combined fleet began its attack with a coordinated barrage from over 11,000 ships. Energy beams, missile swarms, and plasma bursts filled space with deadly light. It was the most concentrated firepower ever assembled in galactic history. The human fleet responded by doing something no alien commander expected. They split apart instead of maintaining formation like every military doctrine in the galaxy demanded. The 300 human ships scattered in all directions. Some dove toward the nearby star. Others raced toward the outer system. A few seemed to be fleeing toward deep space. Tactical confusion, Supreme Marshal Vecton announced to his fleet. The humans are panicking. All units pursue and destroy scattered targets. The alien fleet broke formation to chase individual human ships, spreading their forces across the entire star system. It was exactly what Admiral Kang had hoped they would do. All ghost ship squadrons, Kang transmitted on encrypted channels. You are cleared to engage. Show them what we've been building in the dark. 50 ghost ships materialized from phase space directly in the center of the scattered alien fleet. Unlike the home guard vessels, these ships had never appeared in any galactic database. They existed in the spaces between dimensions, invisible to all sensors until they chose to reveal themselves. What followed wasn't a battle. It was a systematic demonstration of technological superiority that the galaxy would study and fear for generations. The ghost ships moved through the alien fleet like death itself. They appeared behind enemy vessels, severed their weapon systems with matter displacement beams, then vanished back into phase space before return fire could reach them. Human AI systems predicted alien movements with perfect accuracy. Neural networks calculated optimal attack patterns faster than organic minds could process. Quantum computers coordinated the movements of all human ships in real time. Within 2 hours, the combined fleet was completely disabled. Not destroyed, the humans could have done that in minutes. Instead, every alien ship found itself weaponless, defenseless, and completely at human mercy. Supreme Marshal Vecton sat in his command chair, staring at tactical displays that showed his mighty fleet reduced to helpless scrap. Around him, his bridge crew worked frantically to restore systems that had been cleanly removed from their ship. How? He whispered. How is this possible? Admiral Kang's face appeared on the communication screen, his expression calm and final. Marshal, you and your crews will be safely escorted to the edge of human space and released. You have a message to carry back to the Galactic Council. What message? Vecton asked, his pride shattered like glass. Tell them that this was humanity's defensive response. Tell them what happens when they force us to fight back. And tell them that if any alien force attacks human interests again, we will not simply disable their ships. The human rescue operation was as efficient as their military victory. Every alien crew member was collected, given medical treatment, and safely delivered to the nearest alien outpost. Not a single casualty on either side, though the psychological damage to alien confidence would last for generations. As news of the Battle of New Sol spread through galactic communication networks, something fundamental changed in how alien civilizations viewed humanity. The species they had, dismissed as weak traitors and researchers, had just defeated the largest military force in galactic. history using only 350 ships, but more disturbing was the realization that humans had been hiding their true capabilities for centuries. Every diplomatic meeting, every trade negotiation, every cultural exchange had been carefully managed to conceal human technological superiority. The aliens had been playing checkers while humanity played chess on a board they could tee. 1 year after the Battle of New Sol, the galaxy was unrecognizable. The old trade routes that had connected alien civilizations for millennia had collapsed. The Galactic Council's authority existed only on paper. Most importantly, human ships now patrolled star systems that had never seen a human presence before. Ambassador Bei Yunji stood on the bridge of humanity's new flagship, the UES Remembrance, as it approached the former Galactic Council station. The massive space station had been the center of alien civilization for 3,000 years. Now it flew human flags and operated under human authority. Bei had once been humiliated in the council chambers, dismissed as a representative of a junior species. Now she dictated terms to governments that had once considered themselves the masters of the galaxy. Ambassador, reported Captain Lee Min-soo, the Altarian delegation is requesting permission to dock. They have the signed treaty documents. Bei nodded approvingly. The Altarians had been among the first to accept the new reality. A peaceful species of researchers and philosophers, they had immediately requested human protection when their former Galactic Council allies abandoned them to raiders and pirates. Grant permission, Bei ordered. Have them escorted to Conference Room A. I want to review their compliance reports before the signing ceremony. The Altarian Treaty was simple. Complete disarmament of all military forces, reparations for all damage caused to human interests, full cooperation with human authorities in all matters of galactic security. In exchange, they received something the Galactic Council had never provided: absolute protection from all threats. Human patrol fleets had eliminated piracy in Altarian space within weeks. Human medical technology had ended diseases that had plagued their species for centuries. Human industrial assistance had revolutionized their manufacturing capabilities. The lesson was clear: cooperation with humanity brought benefits that no alien government could match. Not every species chose. Cooperation Director of Operations Han Young-suk reviewed the final battle reports from the Krag Dominion campaign in her secure office, beneath the surface of Mars. The reptilian Krag had been the most militaristic species in the galaxy. Their culture built entirely around conquest and domination. When humanity offered them the same terms as other species, the Krag response had been swift and predictable. They declared war on humanity and launched their entire fleet in a massive offensive designed to crush human expansion before it could grow stronger. The war had lasted 72 hours. Final casualty reports, Han requested from her aide. 0 human casualties, came the reply. Complete Krag fleet neutralized. All Krag military installations disabled. Their home system is under human occupation, awaiting new government installation. The Krag had learned the same lesson as the Nexari and the combined fleet, but they had learned it too late. When facing an enemy that could appear and disappear at will, that could disable any weapon system, and that could coordinate attacks across entire star systems simultaneously, traditional military thinking became meaningless. But the speed of human victory was only part of the story. More important was what happened after each conquest. Human occupation forces didn't behave like traditional conquerors. They rebuilt damaged infrastructure, provided medical aid to wounded enemies, and worked to establish stable civilian governments. The Krag people found themselves living under human rule that was more fair and efficient than their own military dictatorship had ever been. Human technology solved problems that Krag science hadn't even recognized. Human administration eliminated corruption that had plagued their society for generations. Within months, many Krag citizens privately admitted they preferred human rule to their own former government. The pattern repeated across the galaxy. Species that chose defiance found themselves defeated and occupied. Species that chose cooperation found themselves protected and prosperous. The choice was simple, but the implications were staggering. Chief Science Officer Dr. Shin Hyo-rin supervised humanity's greatest expansion project from her laboratory aboard the research vessel UES Discovery. Using technology developed from 2 centuries of studying alien civilizations, human colonies were spreading across the galaxy at a rate that terrified alien observers. Report on colonization progress. she requested from her research team. Phase 1 colonies are operational on 47 worlds, her deputy replied. Phase 2 colonies are under construction on 93 additional worlds. Phase 3 survey teams have identified over 300 suitable systems for human settlement. The most shocking aspect of human expansion was not its speed, but its scope. Humans were settling worlds that alien scientists had declared uninhabitable. Planets with extreme temperatures, toxic atmospheres, or dangerous radiation levels became thriving human colonies within months. Human biotechnology allowed colonists to adapt to any environment. Human engineering could terraform worlds in a fraction of the time alien civilizations required. Human logistics could supply colonies across vast distances with perfect efficiency. More disturbing to alien observers was the realization that humans had been preparing for this expansion for decades. The colony ships emerging from human space were not hastily converted vessels, but purpose-built craft designed for rapid planetary settlement. The terraforming equipment was not experimental technology, but proven systems refined through centuries of development. Humanity had been planning galactic colonization long before they withdrew from alien civilization. They had simply been waiting for the right moment to begin. Admiral Kim Tae-ho stood in his command center on Earth, watching real-time displays showing human expansion across the galaxy. Red markers indicated systems under human control. Blue markers showed systems requesting human protection. Yellow markers indicated systems still under alien control but surrounded by human territory. The map told a simple story. Within 5 years, humanity would control or protect the majority of inhabited systems in the galaxy. The speed of change was unprecedented in galactic history. "Sir," reported his intelligence chief, "we're receiving surrender offers from 12 additional species this week. They're requesting the same terms as the Altarians." Kim nodded without surprise. "What about the major powers?" "The Vorthan Collective, the Draconian Hegemony, the Nexari Empire, all maintaining defensive positions in their core systems. No aggressive moves, but no surrender offers either." Kim studied the tactical displays showing the positions of the remaining alien powers. They controlled perhaps 20% of their former territories, surrounded by human space on all sides. They had become islands in a human ocean. The irony was not lost on him. These same species had once dismissed humanity as a minor civilization, confined to a small corner of the galaxy. Now they were the ones hiding in their home systems, hoping human expansion would stop before reaching them. "What are your orders regarding the holdout species?" his intelligence chief asked. Kim considered the question carefully. The old Kim Tae-ho, the one who had believed in diplomatic solutions, would have offered generous terms for peaceful surrender. But that version of himself had died in the Galactic Council chamber, where aliens laughed at human suffering. Continue expansion operations. If they stay in their home systems and don't interfere with human interests, leave them alone. If they make any aggressive moves, treat them like the Crag. The message was clear throughout the galaxy. Resistance was not only futile, it was unnecessary. Humans had no interest in conquest for its own sake. They simply wanted to ensure that no alien species would ever again have the power to threaten human lives or dismiss human suffering. But for species that had once ruled the galaxy, accepting such a subordinate position was almost impossible to contemplate. High Magistrate Zulkar of the Vorthan Collective sat in his ancient throne room, surrounded by holographic displays showing the collapse of his 8,000-year empire. The Vorthan had ruled galactic civilization since before most species had developed spaceflight. Now they controlled only their home system and a handful of loyal worlds. "The humans have sent another message," reported his aide, a younger Vorthan whose 6 arms trembled with barely controlled fear. "What do they want this time?" Zulkar asked wearily. "The same terms they've offered everyone else. Complete disarmament, reparations, and acknowledgement of human authority in galactic affairs. In exchange, they guarantee the security and autonomy of our core worlds." Zulkar's ancient mind struggled with concepts that would have been unthinkable just years before. The Vorthan Collective had never surrendered to anyone. They had absorbed every challenge to their authority, crushed every rebellion, and outlasted every rival civilization. But humans were different. They didn't want to absorb the Vorthan Empire or rule Vorthan worlds directly. They simply wanted to ensure that the Vorthan could never again threaten human interests or laugh at human suffering. What does our military assessment conclude? Zulkar asked. The same as every previous assessment. We cannot win a military confrontation with humanity. Their technology is too advanced, their tactics too unpredictable, and their coordination too perfect. Any resistance would result in swift defeat and occupation. Zulkar closed his eyes and felt the weight of 8,000 years of Vorthon supremacy cried over. 5 years after humanity's tolerance ran out, the galaxy had learned to live under a new reality. The former Galactic Council Station, now renamed Unity Station, served as the administrative center for human authority over galactic civilization. Ambassador Velthon of the Nexari Empire knelt in the main council chamber, the same room where he had once laughed at footage of dead human children. His forearms shook with humiliation as he waited for Director General Li Minjun to acknowledge his presence. The chamber had been redesigned since human takeover. Gone were the elevated platforms that allowed alien species to look down on others. The new design placed all representatives at the same level, with humans occupying the central administrative positions. Ambassador Velthon, Director General Li said without looking up from his reports, you requested this meeting to discuss the status of Nexari mining operations in the Kepler sector. Yes, Director General, Velthon replied, his voice barely above a whisper. My government wishes to expand operations to 3 additional asteroids in the belt. We have submitted the required environmental impact assessments and profit-sharing agreements. Li finally looked up at the alien who had once treated humans with such contempt. Your application is approved, provided you maintain the safety standards we established after the Carthan incident. The Carthan incident. Even 5 years later, the words carried weight throughout the galaxy. The same raiders who had attacked New Busan while the Galactic Council called it acceptable losses had made the mistake of attacking a human-protected world. The human response had been swift and final. Not just the raiders, but every member of their clan, every supporter of their raids, and every government that had harbored them had been eliminated within 72 hours. Not killed, eliminated. Their ships, their bases, their entire criminal organization had simply ceased to exist. The message was clear throughout the galaxy. Any violence against human-protected civilians would result in the complete destruction of everyone responsible. Thank you, Director General, Velthon said, backing away from the desk in the submissive posture that Nexari now adopted when dealing with human authorities. After the alien left, Li returned to his daily reports from across human-controlled space. The efficiency of the new galactic order was remarkable. Crime had virtually disappeared. Interspecies conflicts had ended completely. Scientific advancement had accelerated beyond anything achieved under the old Galactic Council. Dr. Shin Hyorin, now head of the Department of Galactic Affairs, entered the chamber carrying a datapad filled with the day's status updates. Director General, she reported, we have 3 new species requesting admission to the Protection Treaty. All have agreed to standard terms without negotiation. Any significant developments in the outer systems? The Kree Confederation has completed their disarmament process ahead of schedule. They're requesting human technical assistance with their agricultural programs. The Altarians have exceeded their research quotas for the 3rd consecutive quarter. The former Draconian territories report no security incidents for the past 6 months. Li nodded with satisfaction. The transformation of galactic civilization had exceeded even human expectations. Species that had spent millennia in constant conflict now cooperated on projects that benefited everyone. Worlds that had been devastated by war were rebuilding with human assistance. Most importantly, the galaxy was at peace for the first time in recorded history. What about the memorial project? Li asked. Construction is proceeding on schedule. The memorial will be completed in time for the 5th anniversary ceremony next month. The memorial project was perhaps the most significant symbolic gesture of the new order. Located at the site of the old Galactic Council chambers, it honored all victims of the violence and negligence that had characterized the previous galactic government. But at its center stood a special section dedicated to the human civilians who had died while aliens laughed at their suffering. 17 children from New Busan, 43 total casualties from that single raid, and thousands more humans who had been killed while the Galactic Council called their deaths acceptable losses. Fleet Admiral Li Wujin, promoted from his former rank of captain, stood before the central memorial wall reading the names carved into black stone. Each name represented a life that the aliens had dismissed as unimportant, casualties that were acceptable in their view of galactic peace. The memorial inscription was simple and direct. They thought our kindness made us weak. They learned too late that it made us strong. As Lee placed flowers at the base of the memorial, he reflected on the events that had brought the galaxy to this point. Humanity had never wanted to rule galactic civilization. They had wanted to be part of it, to contribute to it, to find their place among the stars as equals with other intelligent species. The aliens had made that impossible. Their arrogance, their contempt, and their casual cruelty had forced humanity to make a choice no species should have to make. They could accept permanent subjugation and continued mockery, or they could take control and ensure their survival. The choice had been obvious. Even if the consequences were tragic, Admiral Kim Tae-ho joined Lee at the memorial, the two men standing in silence before the names of the dead. Kim had been the one to make the final decision to withdraw humanity from galactic civilization. The responsibility for everything that followed rested on his shoulders. "Do you ever regret it?" Lee asked quietly. Kim considered the question carefully. Around them, Unity Station buzzed with activity as representatives from dozens of species worked together under human supervision. The galaxy was more peaceful, more prosperous, and more stable than it had ever been under alien rule. "I regret that it was necessary," Kim replied finally. "I regret that they left us no choice, but I don't regret the decision itself. Look around us, Wu-Jin. Look at what we've accomplished. It was true. Under human administration, galactic civilization had achieved things that seemed impossible under the old order. Scientific cooperation between species that had been enemies for millennia, economic development that brought prosperity to worlds that had been impoverished for centuries. Most importantly, an end to the casual violence and deliberate cruelty that had characterized interspecies relations. The aliens had called human suffering acceptable losses. Now they lived in a galaxy where no suffering was acceptable if humans had the power to prevent it. The Nexari ambassador seemed different today, Lee observed. "They all seem different now," Kim replied. "Fear has a way of teaching lessons that respect never could. And that was the final tragedy of the transformation. Humanity had wanted to earn alien respect through friendship and cooperation. Instead, they had gained alien obedience through overwhelming superiority. The galaxy obeyed human authority not because they recognized human wisdom or virtue, but because they had no choice. The species that had once mocked human losses now depended entirely on human protection for their survival. The civilizations that had laughed at human suffering now prospered under human rule. The governments that had dismissed human dignity now existed only at human discretion. Dr. Park So-young approached the memorial, carrying a wreath from the families of New Busan. As former ambassador to the Galactic Council, she had witnessed the moment when alien laughter had sealed the fate of galactic civilization. "The anniversary ceremony preparations are complete," she reported. "Representatives from all member species will attend. They've requested permission to speak about the benefits of human leadership." Kim and Lee exchanged glances. Even now, 5 years later, the irony was almost unbearable. The same species that had mocked human weakness now praised human strength. The same aliens who had dismissed human concerns now competed to demonstrate their loyalty to human authority. "Approved," Kim said finally. "Let them speak. Let them tell the galaxy how much better their lives are under human rule. Let them explain why they're grateful for the very dominance they forced us to impose." As the three humans stood before the memorial to those who had died while aliens laughed, each understood the fundamental truth that the galaxy would never fully grasp. Humanity had not wanted to be conquerors. They had wanted to be friends. But friendship required mutual respect, and respect was something the aliens had proven incapable of giving. So humanity had taken control instead, creating the stable and prosperous galaxy that cooperation might have achieved if aliens had chosen differently. The galaxy could not erase the day humanity's tolerance ran out, because on that day, the universe had learned a lesson that would echo through history. There are fates worse than war, and one of them is making an enemy of a species that only wanted to be your friend. The memorial stood as a permanent reminder of that lesson, its black stone reflecting the faces of those who read the names carved there. Each name represented not just a life lost, but an opportunity missed. An opportunity for a galaxy where humans and aliens could have worked together as equals, building something greater than either could achieve alone. Instead, they had built a galaxy where humans ruled absolutely and aliens obeyed completely. It was stable, prosperous, and peaceful. But it was also the galaxy that alien arrogance had made inevitable. As evening fell on Unity Station,